What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of LaLiga Insiders. Gemma Soler, Rodrigo Faiz, Christina Alexander. We're not going to only break down what we saw on the field this weekend, but what we've just seen off it, because Joan Laporta attacks Real Madrid with his words. And Madrid, they're focused on Europe after that result this weekend. And what's new with our insiders, the best information, and of course a little bit of extra time, because why not? So Gemma was talking about how we were waiting for what happened just a few hours ago when we're recording this, of course. Joan Laporta finally talking about the Negreira case and what's been surrounding, of course, Barcelona. Here's a little bit of what he said. Barcelona have never acted with the intention of altering or influencing competitions to gain a sporting advantage. The courts have found no proof otherwise because there is none. It's the fiercest attack ever against Barcelona, and it's been done to ruin the club's reputation and destabilize us. Starting with what we're reading on screen, Gemma, what goes through your mind with what Laporta said just a few hours back?
It comes to my mind, it was a really long press conference, over 2 hours, but not so many messages. I'm not surprised. It's kind of what I expected. I think there is a little bit of limitation because it's going to go to court. So the lawyers have probably advised Joan Laporta not to say things that can go against the interests of the club. But I think that he's sending a big, strong message to the members that are the owners of Barcelona, because a lot of them are concerned over not only about the club's reputation, but also because no one wants to win without sportsmanship, right? So he's sending that message that never try to obtain a sporting advantage, that it was a transaction about getting a job done, and not getting into the two, I think, more dark question. One is why himself increased the salary that this person, Negreira, received so much in 2004. Why did he that? And why the number 2 of the referees in Spain? It's ugly. It sounds kind of dirty. He didn't give convincing explanations over that. He just said that this was something that it's legal, and probably it is legal. The judge will have to decide that. But more, if we speak about moral, I think it's not convincing enough. I think he was speaking a lot to the members with this long press conference, and but it's not being clear enough, I think, to make this absolutely transparent and saying, oh, okay, the reputation of Barcelona now, we did something, we prejudge and we should be thinking another way around. I don't think that he managed to convince a lot of people that are critic with this kind of action that Barcelona has been doing almost during 2 decades.
Yeah, I'm sure he prepared hours, days at a time with lawyers with what he was allowed to say and what he wasn't allowed to say. But yeah, a long press conference, and what you expected is what you told us just a few days ago as well, Gemma. Rodri, let's read a little bit more as to what Joan Laporta had to say, because we read in the menu of the day that he attacked Real Madrid, of course, with his words. And he said, I would like to single out in particular Javier Tebas, who has acted irresponsibly and unprofessionally. With his constant statements, he has fueled the controversy and even provided false documentation to prosecutors. Real Madrid has been historically favored by refereeing decisions, a club that's been considered as a team of the regime in Spain. For them to claim they feel wronged is an unprecedented exercise in cynicism. I don't know if dangerous is the right word, Rodri, but how messy does this get when he brings in Real Madrid's history?
Where are the evidences? I mean, that is the first thing that I would ask Laporta after saying that. I remember this morning when I was in front of the television watching this press conference, and I said to myself, this is a waste of time. I mean, this is a waste of time. First of all, because if I were a Barcelona member, I would be like, okay, here you have the questions, but I don't have any answers. I mean, I don't really know why Barcelona paid the amount of money during so many years to Negreira and his son. I don't really know yet. And the thing is that, apart from that, why do you have to attack Real Madrid when not only Real Madrid are accusing you of getting some information out of the Spanish referee committee? I mean, it was Real Madrid, it was La Liga, it was the Spanish Federation, it was UEFA, it was the rest of the Spanish clubs. I mean, I don't really understand why Laporta acted like that. And I maybe want to understand that maybe he wanted to talk to the Twitter supporters or the social network supporters, but this is not enough, because you have to report to your members. And if I were, repeat again, a Barcelona member, I would be disappointed by the way Laporta are using the club and the way he used this press conference this morning to say what? I mean, he didn't reply to any. And he attacked La Liga, he attacked Tebas, he attacked Real Madrid, but he didn't attack UEFA Seferin, who said the same that Tebas a couple of weeks ago in an interview in a local newspaper in Serbia, I think it was. I mean, it doesn't have any point for me. I mean, after what happened, Chris, and I'm being honest in this way, for me, it was a 2-hour press conference that for me, it was a waste of time.
Then why have it, Gemma, at the end of the day? Why have it?
I understand it, why he is doing that. He cannot be enemies with everyone, so he chooses two enemies with looking for two things. One is to put the focus there in the fight Barca Madrid, and the other one is because with UEFA they are trying to build bridges to have some connection. It's true that Seferin said that they will look a lot about Barcelona in this case because it looks really, really bad. But they are working in the relations, and they don't want to annoy UEFA anymore. And because they have some insights that it might be good to keep it calm with UEFA, and that they are pro the European organism. Probably, of course I don't know, but probably won't sanction them for the next season, and this decision has to be taken in the next few weeks. So it's not a good choice to start a public war with UEFA right now, but. To put attention in some kind of two enemies, I think he picked the enemies that Barcelona members like to have as an enemy. One is number one, Real Madrid, and the other one, Tebas, because it's true that probably the president of La Liga, he has been one of the more fiercely attacked Barcelona, and that he leaked some documents that at the end of the day they weren't true. So he decided to pick two enemies. He cannot be enemies with everyone, so he's putting the focus in that, and he's defending Barcelona. And I think that the message, you Rodi are not combined. I think a lot of people might not be combined, but might be saying, okay, let's see what the justice will do. And I think that's the main goal of Barcelona, like, wait for the trial. Don't condemn us before that trial, because this is what it's happening. And at the end of the day, it's like giving the message that Barcelona have never obtained a sporting advantage with this Negreira case. So either they are not very smart and they spend a lot of money in some kind of reports that any of us could have done it, or there has been another kind of illegal practice with taking money out of putting the money in Barcelona's economy, and this has gone to somewhere else. But in this case, Barcelona will be the victim, and they will try to find out which member or who did that in the past.
Yeah, it's all kind of innocent until proven guilty. It's not looking great. Trying to speak to those, of course, the socios, the members of Football Club Barcelona. We'll have to see what happens from here to a few months down the road with that active investigation, which is why I want to assume that he can't show the receipts right now and say, we are innocent and here's why. The documentation is available in public records or on our website, whatever. But we'll be there if slash when that happens. Rodri, I want to go with you because we talked about, of course, what that result was now for Barcelona against Getafe. Let's focus on what actually happened on the field. Xavi wasn't happy with the conditions that he saw from the field at the end of the day. Still went scoreless yet again with that 0-0 against Getafe.
I was a bit surprised, but not at all when Xavi said that after the game. Even I had the chance to talk to Ter Stegen and Eric, and both of them were complaining about the turf too. So, the thing is that, and I already talked about this with you, Chris, is that I remember when I got to the stadium, to the Coliseum Getafe, it was a really sunny day, no clouds in the sky. It was a really dry day in Madrid because the temperature was really high, and I was surprised by the way, or by the dryness of the turf. And I was like, oh my God, maybe this is something that will disappoint Xavi. And I made a picture of the grass because it was a bit long and it was really, really dry. So the speed of the ball, it was really low. If you compare it, for example, with some other stadiums, and indeed, if you compare Coliseum turfs with Camp Nou turf. And at the end of the game, I was like, is Xavi going to complain about this? And suddenly he said, yes, I'm gonna complain about this. It was really funny at that point of the evening here in Madrid, because I understand that Barcelona are struggling a lot without Pedri, without Frenkie de Jong, without Dembele. For me, those three are three key players, and I understand that they are not the same without them. But at the end of the day, are you going to complain about the turf when you get that draw against Getafe, which is the kind of team that is playing to avoid relegation? Is that enough for Barca? Is that enough for Barca that if you compare this team to Getafe, the difference between the budgets, the difference in between the quality players that you have and they don't? I mean, this is a little bit tricky. And I do understand Xavi because, as I mentioned before, I made a picture of that turf, and for me, it was at the same level that Xavi expressed at the end of the game. But maybe that is excuse when you don't know anything about what happened in there. It's like, okay, come on, Xavi, look for another excuse because you are Barcelona trained.
Yeah, and we don't know, right? If he mentioned it even before the starting whistle went off, maybe he told his team. We don't know those details exactly, but Gemma, yeah, it's tough, right? To kind of see this 0-0 draw and him mention it. I'm curious to see if he would have mentioned it maybe if they would have won and still have something to say about it. But what do you think about how he handled that?
Well, I guess he's trying to take a little bit of pressure off his players' shoulders, like trying to find an excuse, which is probably right in some percentage, but we're not going to say that Barcelona were unable to win that game because of the turf. There are much more factors. The fact that they haven't been able to score in the last two games and that they seem to have forgotten about how to score a goal lately. The fact that some of the key players are not performing so well. For example, Lewandowski, only 4 goals after the World Cup. Yes, there are other excuses like the injuries that we will be talking later, but it's true that this Barcelona seems stuck, and there is a lot of psychology here because they know that they will more than probably clinch La Liga title at some point, but it's the end of the season of an extremely tough season, that there has been a World Cup in the middle, long, tough season, and going to play on a Sunday afternoon, 4 p.m. Spanish time in Getafe, which is not the most, with all the respects, not the most exciting rival and stadium probably, this affect the performance of these players. So I think Xavi cannot say what I'm saying because he's the manager of these players and he's trying to find some excuses, and probably it's true that apart from the rival is not the most exciting thing to play against. If the turf is not in a good conditions and they haven't watered that grass well, it's difficult to play in under these circumstances. But we'll be talking a little bit later that inside the doors, there is concern about the performance, and they are much more critic on the inside than what they express on the press conference after the games.
Okay, we're not going to spoil it yet, so you guys can stick around to hear that information just a little bit ahead, because we have to talk about Real Madrid. They got the job done in La Liga this weekend against Cadiz. Rodri, you told us last week we could expect a different look player-wise from Carlo Ancelotti and company. What did you think overall about the result that they were able to get? They left against Cadiz with those 3 points in their pocket.
It was an important win for Real Madrid because it was a kind of tricky game in between Chelsea home and Chelsea away games. And that kind of matches for Real Madrid are even more difficult than they are in fact, because they got rotations, which is something that Ancelotti doesn't really like a lot. We've seen in the past year and a half that Ancelotti is not a rotation lover till there is no other option for him. So that is why it was a bit tricky for Real Madrid. At the end of the day, I think they did a great performance in against a really difficult side like Cadiz. They're trying to avoid relegation, and when you are playing Cadiz at the Mirandilla Stadium, it's even more difficult because it's a really defensive squad. We know how Sergio González is as a coach, which is for me a marvelous coach, but he has to adapt to the teams that he's coaching. And when he adapted to Cadiz and he got the best results, is when he made Cadiz to be built from the defense. So that is why against Real Madrid and having both sides in comparison about the difference of the quality players that they have. I mean, he was really practical, and I think that Ancelotti got a great win against Cadiz. I'm not gonna say that they didn't expect this win, but I'm sure that they didn't expect this easy way of winning at Mirandilla, because it's always really tough for Real Madrid. They know the atmosphere that is really struggling for Real Madrid players, but at the end of the day, they got that win, and now they focus only in what will happen in Champions League back game against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. So now they are more calmed down and focus only in that priority for Real Madrid this year.
Yeah, they can't afford to drop points, not necessarily because they think they can still win La Liga. We don't know that. It's Real Madrid at the end of the day. We can never count them out until we see Barcelona lift the trophy. But Gemma, mentally, they can't afford to drop points or drop any sort of confidence ahead of what's to come, which Rodri just mentioned with the UEFA Champions League.
Oh yes, because it's not the best way to go to Stamford Bridge with a defeat or a draw in the previous game. I was at the Nuevo Mirandilla, and I disagree with Rodri. I think it was a very difficult. It was difficult for them to win that game. It's true that they played well. It was a very entertaining goalless first half, but at minute 70, I could see the frustration in Benzema's face, Rodrigo, because they were playing really well. They were generating a lot, but the goals were not arriving, and they were kind of nervous, like this goalkeeper, David Hill, he's the substitute. He made like 7 saves or more in the first half. And you could feel that these players were starting to be a little bit tired, and it wasn't happening until Nacho managed to get that first goal, opening the game, and then it was easy. It's true. At the end, I think it was a good win for Real Madrid in a tricky stadium against a team that is very well, I agree, it's very well trained by Sergio and fighting to avoid relegation, and with especially the fact that Ancelotti made 6 changes in the start, the squad start, and it worked. Sometimes when he makes a lot of changes, the team doesn't work. It worked well, and it was a way for Asensio, for Nacho, for Ceballos to say, I'm here when I have opportunities, I play well. And so I think it was a convincing win for Real Madrid that has to give them mentally strength to go to Stamford Bridge and finish the job that it's already very well for them with that 2-0 win in Bernabeu last week.
Yeah, it's a big win for Carlo Ancelotti's side. No doubt we'll have to see how that visit to Stamford Bridge will be in no time at all, really. Rodri, we're going to actually switch to our insider information. Rodri, speaking of Real Madrid, how surprised were they with what Joan Laporta had to say?
after listening to Laporta saying that Real Madrid is the team of the régimen, which is a very strong word and a really strong accusation for Real Madrid, I got the phone and I texted my sources at Real Madrid board, and they couldn't believe that. They were like, did he really say that? And they were, so disappointed by the way Laporta attacked this morning Real Madrid, because they understand, first of all, that Real Madrid is not the only club that are complaining about what happened in between the referees, Negreira, and Football Club Barcelona. We remember that Real Madrid made this accusation on his own, but only because they don't really agree with Tebas, and they always do the same on their own. So that is why the rest of the clubs always complaining and indeed complaining about Football Club Barcelona referee and Negreira issue, and they don't really understand why Laporta attacked them in that way. Because in Spain we say régimen, like the team of the régimen, as Laporta mentioned Real Madrid, you refer to what happened before the democratic era in Spain. And that's really ugly, because they understand that in terms of history, during the Franco dictator charge, Real Madrid wasn't winning that titles or that amount of titles that Laporta wanted to say or wanted to mean this morning. So that is why they were really disappointed, and they didn't understand that attack, because they understand that apart from what happened in the past maybe 3-4 weeks, they did what they think they had to do, and they did with that accusation to Barcelona what the members, Real Madrid members, wanted the board of Real Madrid to do. So at the end of the day, for them, there is no point of getting that accusation from Barcelona chairman.
Yeah, pointing fingers elsewhere, and a lot of years back to what that was, of course, and a very difficult time for Spain. Gemma, I'll go back with you, because you were telling us about scoreless again. Barcelona the attacking side seems to be the concern, but how big of a concern is it really?
Let me just add about what Rodri said, that I would like to have some popcorn on Wednesday, because there is the annual meeting of La Liga, and Joan Laporta himself confirmed that he's going to be there, I guess face to face with Florentino Perez and Javier Tebas. So please, let us
popcorn,
put together.
I don't think Florentino will attend.
No, he will not?
I don't think so.
Okay, but with Tebas or Jose Angel Casas, will be funny anyway. So about the concerns, Chris, I briefly said before that when talking to the press, to the media, which is a way as well to send a message to your players, Xavi is trying to not put more pressure on their shoulders, but inside we've been able to check with our sources, and we've been told that there is a lot of concern that this end of La Liga can be too long for Barcelona, that psychologically and physically the players maybe are not as fresh as they should. But they are still optimistic, because they think that with the additions of players who are injured and could be back, we will be talking a little bit later on that this can change. Because if this mentality set of Barcelona players is not changing, Xavi and his squad and his staff are concerned, not only because of this season, because they are very optimistic that they will win La Liga, but this is also a way to prepare next season. They need to convince players to come, players to stay, and they don't have the money to do that. So it's more like, here you're going to be fun, you're going to have fun, you're going to win things. And this end of the season, if it's not successful and they are like dead man walking, going through La Liga, this can be not good for not only for this season, but thinking on what's coming next. And so Xavi and his staff are concerned, and they will be doing a big effort on the next days to try to change the mindset of these players, to try to motivate them a lot so they can win this league with success, not winning because only the points that they already earned before, but in a successful way, so they can celebrate this title after 2 years of no success, and with the members and with the fan base. So that's what they are working right now, to try to bring that success back in the last game.
Yeah, that panic button is still behind the break glass in case of emergency. There's no emergency yet. They don't want to break the glass. They want to win La Liga through the whole season, not only because other teams dropped points, but they still have that 11-point gap, of course, with second place Real Madrid. Rodri, back to you, and still with what this Barcelona game was against Getafe. But as for their rivals, what do they think about what was said after the match?
Well, it was strange because when I firstly listened to what Xavi was saying in the press conference, I did have the chance to talk to Ter Stegen and Eric for ESPN after game show, and both of them were complaining, maybe not on the same way than Xavi, but both commented what happened with the dryness of the turf and all that stuff. And I asked all the Getafe players in front of camera and behind cameras, and all of them were like, okay, we don't really like the way Barcelona are complaining about this, because first of all, we're making a legal thing. This is not something illegal. I mean, this is something that La Liga said, oh, this is okay, we like it. I mean, there are any kind of issues related to that. And they were surprised by the way Xavi was mentioned that in the post-game press conference. They didn't understand what Xavi said, and they didn't understand even, for example, why Xavi doesn't really complain about some other stadiums when Barcelona are having the same issues. But it's like, okay, he's complaining about us just because we are Getafe. And that is why they were kind of disappointed. Secondly, this was really strange at the same time, because they were complaining about this, but at the same time, in front of the camera, I got a chance to talk to Borja Mayoral, Getafe striker and former Real Madrid player, and he was like, well, this is a weapon that we have, and we're going to use it. It's the same way that when we are playing away against Barcelona back in the Camp Nou, and they have like this, the turf, and this is so water, the grass, so we don't really see the ball, and they are not making something illegal, so we don't complain about that. Why do they have to complain about our turf? We're not making something illegal, so that is why Real Madrid, or Getafe, players were complaining about Xavi and all that stuff after the game.
Yeah, using all the advantages that they can. That's what any team would do, and that's what they're trying to do at the end of the day. The 22 players that played this match, of course, were quite literally on the same playing field, at least with the grass that we saw. Gemma, back to you, because we're sticking with Barcelona. We know that they've missed a lot of their very important players, their youngsters. Do you have any good news for Barca fans with possible returns?
Eventually, yes, we have good news, because three of them, Pedri, Dembélé and Frenkie de Jong, are already training with their teammates, and if there's no setback in the next few days, on Friday they will be receiving the medical release. That's what our sources explain us, and this is really good news. Of course, we don't know if they will be able to start, Pedri and Frenkie de Jong. This depends on the information that Xavi and his staff has about each player. Pedri, that he has been missing a couple of months. I think it's unlikely that he will be able to play the full game. But they think that the fact that these players are back. About Dembélé, he's needing a little bit more trainings to say, because of his record as well. So I'm not sure if probably he won't be able either to go to the trip to Vallecas, but maybe for next weekend, the last game in April against Real Betis in the Camp Nou, it could be a good day for him to be back. And about Christensen, who is the other injured, he's still not being able to train. And the bad news they have received is that the injury of Sergio Roberto is severe, and he will be out about 5 weeks. So maybe he will miss the rest of the season. But there is optimism regarding the fact that two of the key players in the midfield that they have been so much missed, they need the sparkle, the vision, the inspiration that both Frenkie de Jong and Pedri brings to the team. They will be back very soon, and the fact that they will play against a big rival like Atletico de Madrid, they think that this will give a lot of inspiration to these players, because we have seen that they have been missing that lately with these 3 last games without being able to score a goal.
Oh yeah, they missed them quite a lot, so that's great news there for, of course, the players, for Xavi Hernandez, for the fans who have been waiting for their return. Rodri, let's travel back to your neck of the woods, but let's talk about Atletico de Madrid. How happy are they lately with Diego Pablo Simeone?
I mean, they are happy. I mean, now Atletico de Madrid, if you look at a dictionary, you would see synonyms, happiness. That is why Atletico de Madrid got their 6th win in a row, which is something that maybe if we were at the beginning of this season, you would have told me, okay, Atletico de Madrid are going to get 6 games in a row winning. I would have told you, you are crazy. And it's the same team before and after the Qatar 2022 World Cup. It looks like, like a complete different side, thanks to what Simeone has achieved in these past 2 months. This is incredible, outstanding. And this proves again the information that I was reporting in the past 4 months. I remember back in January when all the people were complaining about Simeone, and all the people around Atletico de Madrid were pointing out that Simeone was not going to be next year's Atletico de Madrid coach. And I said, no, he wants to stay at Atletico de Madrid, and Atletico de Madrid want Simeone to stay and get his job done here till 2024, which is when the contract in between Simeone and Atletico de Madrid ends. Both parts are still agree with that, and they are even more happier than before, so they are going to continue together, as we reported on ESPN previously. That is why even Simeone are preparing with, alongside with Andrea Berta, sporting director of Atletico de Madrid, and they are preparing next season. They are looking for the new reinforcements that Atletico de Madrid need for the next year. So everyone is happy. The players are happy. No one wants to leave Atletico de Madrid now this part of the season. Let's see how Atletico de Madrid ends this season, because they want to get Real Madrid and steal them the 2nd place of LaLiga table. So let's see what happens. But what we are 100% safe and sure is that Atletico de Madrid will have Simeone next year as coach.
Yeah, a few months back, and as you said, it was kind of difficult to imagine what we're seeing right now. They're hand in hand, skipping down the road, riding off into the sunset, singing in the rain, etc., etc. So, speaking of being hand in hand and being happy with each other, Rafa Marquez, of course, as a player, lived some of his best years, of course, in his career. And Gemma, now he's doing it off the field, but of course, as the coach. Talk to us a little bit more about his success now as a trainer.
Yes, because not many were convinced with the choice of Rafa Marquez as the B team manager, the Barca Athletic, because there were inside solutions that a lot of people thought it were better. The fact that it was President Laporta himself who appointed Rafa Marquez and it was his personal choice, someone could think that it was something personal, not professional. And also the fact that that the way he likes to play is not exactly with that, I don't know if to say DNA or the way that Barcelona historically has played, but the thing is that he has brought a lot of success. We're talking about a B team that has been struggling. It's not easy being the Barca Athletic coach, because sometimes you never know which players are you going to have, because they might be in the first team, then sometimes they come back, they are depressed because they are no longer training or playing with Xavi's squad. So it's really difficult to manage this team. And he has been doing great with success and with good results, and so good that they have a game against Logroñés this weekend. And if they manage to get a point, they will be in the playoff area. This means that they will fight, if they end up in that playoff area, to be in the 2nd division. They are now in Spanish 3rd division. So they could do that, which will be very important, a big success for Barcelona. So he has called to his players to do a last effort, because it will be really good for these players to be able to play in the second division and not in the third one. And he's so comfortable as well as a Barcelona coach that he decided he got an offer to manage the under 23 team of Mexico. He said no. He thinks that he can bring good things here in the B team, and so everyone is happy. And we've been told that inside Barcelona they are very happy the way he's fulfilling this job. That as I was mentioning, there was a little bit of not very convinced people, but he definitely is doing a great job at Barcelona.
Yeah, proving the doubters wrong, not with his words, but with his work now with Barca B. Great information as always, Gemma, Rodri. That takes us to a little bit of extra time, because we know that there's been frustration now surrounding, of course, what that last match was, which doesn't leave aside someone like Rafinha, who had some words. He said, the last time I got angry, I said that I would try to make it the last, but it's difficult. It's difficult because you like to be on the field and help the team win. The frustration of a player on the field, it's difficult to understand as well at that level. I mean, at the amateur level, at my high school level, I would get mad. It's really tough to control. I can't imagine at this level, and with everybody talking about Rafinha and maybe what he's lacking there up front. Rodri, but what do you suggest for Rafinha to try to control his emotions?
Maybe he can get or hire a coach or a psychologist, something like that, because I understand that Rafinha, after watching him last night in person here in Coliseum Stadium, I think he's able for Barca. And I remember when I watched his performances back in the Premier League when he was a Leeds United player, I was like, okay, I mean, he deserves to be a Barcelona or a team like that, of that level player. And I would tell him definitely, hire a coach or, something like that, because if he calms down a little bit, maybe he cools down in any way, he could be a much better player. Because I understand that maybe Dembele is much better than him, and he's going to be the starter when he comes back from the injury. But in these months, he has proven that he has a goal, he can score, he can assist.
Yeah.
He has given a lot of points for Barca. And if you combine these two, a very calm player like he's with Brazil national team, you will have a great player. Maybe not a Dembele player, a Dembele level player, but he's going to be more than able to be a football Barcelona player. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Gemma, what do you suggest for Rafinha?
Oh, he definitely needs to have his head to calm, a little bit cool in this kind of situations. I can understand that he is frustrated, because he knows he's enjoying a lot of minutes because Dembele is injured and this will end up soon. So I can understand his frustration, but he needs to think that other forwards like Ansu Fati, Ferran are enjoying less minutes, and you cannot complain every time, because it's not fair for the rest of the teammates. I think he's having a lack of effectiveness, good luck in his first season in Barcelona, and I think he just needs to have a hobby for the days off or something. Mm-hmm. So this way he relaxes a little bit and he doesn't show himself that much upset when he talks to the press.
Yeah, maybe some yoga, maybe some meditation, or even even journaling. Journaling is great, Rafinha, if you're listening. And also, not to promote, and I'm a little biased in this situation. My dad's a coach, so Rafinha, if you're looking for someone, he's pretty great. Yeah, and he loves it. These are all great solutions that keep calm and carry on. Of course, that could be something that's very useful for him on and off the field. But we understand, Rafinha, it's okay. It's a difficult situation that we can't even imagine being a part of. I mean, you guys see him more, of course, in person than I do. Gemma, Rodri, great stuff as always. I love to remind our viewers to follow both of you on your respective social medias. And of course, you can enjoy all of La Liga matches on ESPN Plus. If you haven't signed up now, do it now. I highly suggest it. There's some great content on there, of course, saying it a little biased, but it's the truth. I will never lie on here and being very objective. Gemma, Rodri, thank you so much. See you in a few days.
Bye-bye, thanks.